Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Chaos Child. We're in a hospital and there was no one around. The nurse at the nurse's station was staring at her PC. Oh, thank goodness. So, we're not in a creepy abandoned hospital, it's fine. If we crouched down, she couldn't see us. I motioned to Sarika and we quietly left the bathroom and started for the lobby. We made it across and arrived in front of the elevator. I looked ahead and saw an automatic door with thick frosted glass. The psych ward lay beyond it. Next to it was a control terminal with an intercom. When visiting, you would say your name and have them unlock the door from the inside. During visiting hours, I'd been sitting in the lobby waiting for the automatic door to open. I tried to see if there was a way to sneak in alongside another visitor, but had run out of time before I'd gotten the chance.
たく、しょうがないよ。出直そう。
Sarika must have noticed me staring at it because she motioned for me to leave. She was right. If we used the elevator, they might notice the sound. We'd just have to take the stairs. Oh.
Huh? たく?
Sarika stopped just before she reached the stairs.
いや、今。
I heard a beeping noise coming from the automatic door. Someone was coming out? I dragged Sarika out onto the landing for the stairs. That was weird. I didn't hear any footsteps. Huh? It's just open? Huh?
嘘。
I took a look around the corner and saw that the door was open.
なんで?
We're gonna witness another kill. It was definitely open, and there was no sign that anyone had come out. I could see deeper into the ward now that the frosted glass was out of the way. The hallway was dark, and it was long past lights out. Why? Why had it opened? The same reason the magical Love Hotel door opened, right? Like, it's creepy, I don't know. Was it set to open automatically from the inside, and someone had walked close enough to trip the sensor? I hadn't seen anyone pass by. I nodded back at Sarika as she pointed down the stairs. Someone was coming up. What should we do? There wasn't enough time for the elevator to get here. The lobby was out of the question. Should we go upstairs? Or would we be safe if we just walked downstairs and acted like nothing was wrong? Yeah, do that, actually. Right past the nurse's station, it's fine. I don't care if she sees us. This music's really picking up. The dark hallway seemed to be beckoning to me. There were no guards or nurses around it.
たくる。あなたも他の人と違わない。ただの高校生でしょ。
I grabbed Sarika's hand and ran straight for the open door.
わかんないけどチャンスだ。行こう。
Sarika was behind me, so I couldn't tell if she nodded or not. I ran faster so I wouldn't have to hear my heart pounding, and a moment later, we were inside the psych ward. Is it possible to get out? You need to scan to get in, but I'm assuming you need to scan something to get out, right? As I listened to the door shut behind me, I moved up next to the wall and took a look around. It was too dark to see all the way to the end of the hallway, but there didn't seem to be anyone there. The green light of the emergency exit reflected off the floor, bathing us in dim light.
たく、手。
I realized that I was still holding Sarika's hand. I quickly let go, and she turned her hand toward the wall.
これ。
She was pointing at a simple map of the ward. It showed the nurse's station, the exam rooms, and what were probably the numbers of the patients' rooms.
確か絵描きって奥の個室に入院しているんだよな。
Of course it's in the far back. Serica nodded. But the map didn't say if the rooms were singles or not. I looked at the doors in front of me. There were plates with what looked like 2 patient names. These rooms were doubles, which meant that any room with the same layout was also probably a double. I looked back at the map. Where were the private rooms?
あった。ここら辺だ。くそ、やっぱり奥の方だな。
あっち？
Serica pointed further down the hall. With Serica behind me, I turned to the side and started to walk as quietly as I could. That weird scent unique to hospitals was stinging my nose. I was used to it, but it was still a little creepy, and it was too quiet. If this was a psych ward, I expected to hear some crazy screaming or something. I mean, it's not the movies, dude.
いや、偏見か。いくら閉鎖病棟とはいえ、大半は高齢の認知症の人たちだろうし。
Sealed ward. A hospital ward, usually for mental patients, with a locked entrance and heavily restricted access and visiting rules. In the broader sense, refers to any hospital ward, not just a mental ward, that cannot be accessed without permission from staff. You wouldn't expect the patients to be screaming 24 hours a day, especially after lights out. But what was with the air here? The Love Hotel? No, it didn't matter. It was just another dim hallway. I wasn't going to the scene of a crime this time.
Huh?
Not yet, anyway. And then I realized. Come to think of it, when I'd gone inside the Love Hotel, I'd first tried to get past the door, then almost given up. I forgot that connection. The fact that we were going to, and then we didn't, and that's when it opened. I turned around and saw the empty hallway stretching out before me, past a confused Serica. The automatic door was on the other side of the corner.
あの時も鍵が勝手に。
That's right. The door to the hotel had opened on its own, just like the automatic door here. The police had told me I'd been mistaken, but maybe it was really...
タク、どうしたの？
いや。
I realized that I'd stopped moving. Hmm? Crap, was that a nurse?
こっち。
Oh, could we not? Are we gonna get the 4 knocks on our stall door?
ああ、松下さん、点滴逆血してたよ。
またですか？外しちゃってました？
それがね。
I could hear what sounded like 2 nurses in the hallway.
バレちゃった？
いや。
I listened carefully. They seemed to be talking about a patient. Good, they hadn't found us. We would have to stay here until they left.
タク、そういえばさ。
ん？
昔忍び込んだ時って、どこに行ったか覚えてる？
I mean, I remember a hallway, but I don't think I knew the location within the hospital. I took my ear off the door.
そりゃ覚えて。いや、具体的にどこか覚えてないな。
I tried to think back to what I'd seen so many times in the dream. It was 8 or 9 years ago now. About that long ago, I was still in elementary school.
でも、この平等じゃなかったとは思う。
I couldn't remember how we got in exactly, but I didn't remember sneaking through an automatic door. And...
あれは、精神科に見られるような治療じゃなかった。
Yeah, it looked like a lab experiment we came across. That was weird. Actually, I don't think you could even call that treatment, whatever it was.
どうした？
I was about to ask before I saw her face and realized what was wrong.
大丈夫か？
大丈夫だよ。
She clearly wasn't okay. Did she remember what happened before? Come to think of it, actually, she tried to act strong and failed last time too.
大したことじゃない。絵描きの情報を確かめて帰る。それだけだろ。
Yeah, but if this time is going to be a reflection of last time, then it's going to be freaking terrifying, isn't it? The nurses must have finished talking because I could hear the footsteps getting further away. Farther?
よし。
That was our last chance. Regular people walking by. Sarika slapped her cheeks with her hands to try and snap herself out of it.
行こう、タク。
Oh boy, here we go.
あ、
When we got to the room, the dim light of the emergency exit lamp was shining down on it.
ここ？
I nodded. This was probably the place. It was a private room in the back, and there were no nameplates on the other private rooms we'd passed.
開けるぞ。
There was no time to hesitate. You know, as elaborate as the last death was, what is this going to be? We could run into a nurse at any moment. I looked to the left and right and checked that there was no one there before opening the door. It was a dark room with no lights. There was enough light to see my hands, but not my feet. Hmm?
誰もいない。
The bed against the wall was empty. The blanket was rolled up. Sarika looked over to see if I saw. Was this not the place?
他の部屋を探してみるか。
This is so uncomfortable. I went to leave when Sarika grabbed my arm.
なんだよ。
タク、あれ？
え？
Sarika pointed at the back wall of the room. Her hand was shaking a little. It was too dark to see. I softly crept forward to get a better look.
ん？
That is creepy.
なんだこれ。
The whole wall. The whole wall was covered with drawings of the sumo sticker in what looked like red paint.
気持ち悪い。
Do you smell copper? Sarika grabbed onto my arm. The warmth reminded me that I wasn't alone. That made me feel just a little better. If I'd seen this alone, I would have screamed and gone crazy.
この匂いは。
Oh my god, did I call it? I mean, red paint, but like, I didn't think we'd bring up the smell. I noticed that there was an unpleasant scent coming from the red paint on the wall. I took another step forward. All of the eyes open up on the pictures. And then I realized. I hope this isn't the patient's blood. I put my hand in front of my mouth to stifle a scream, and then another hand in front of Sarika's mouth to stop her from screaming too, and then another hand. Wait, what? Whoa, oh my god!
どうしたの？
Sarika ripped my hand away from her mouth and clung to me tighter.
これ絵の具じゃない。え？血だ。
This strange smell, like rust, good enough, was the same thing I'd smelled at the Love Hotel during the revolving dead incident. Who had drawn these? Who would draw something like this, and in blood? I imagined someone locked in a dim room endlessly drawing paintings in blood on a blank wall, and a shiver went down my spine. I got goosebumps all over my body.
やばい。
There was something very wrong with this room.
タク、何してるの？
Can you imagine we get locked in, even if nothing at all happens? We just have to be here for like 10 hours?
Huh?
I suddenly realized I was holding a smartphone in my quavering hand, and without even realizing it, I pushed the record button and started filming the drawings on the wall. That, I mean, I know you need evidence, but that is a risky move, dude.
違う。こんなことしてる場合じゃ。
The cops came to save us last time. Will the nurses come to save us this time? Serica tried to drag me back, but my body wouldn't move. I knew it was dangerous to stay here, but I couldn't move. Serica was saying something behind me, but while I could hear the sounds, I couldn't understand what they meant. And then... I heard a sound from somewhere in the dark room. Assuming we just didn't notice the person who was in here and they've been here the whole time, like, them coming up from behind is very creepy. And if, in fact, this room was empty, well, that's even creepier. It was the sound of someone scratching something. I gulped, and my body froze up even more.
今どこかで音が誰だよ
Someone was in here with us. Someone was in this room. In the darkness. And the scariest part? These sumo stickers were not painted in his own blood. I could hear the sound of something hard being scratched again, but the sound bounced off the walls of the square room and I couldn't tell where it was coming from. I desperately searched around the room, eyes cloudy with terror. Oh, jeez. Wait, what? How long have they been there? A girl was crouching on the floor alone with her back to us. She was right next to the bloody sumos, a hand wrapped around her knees, and she was staring at her feet. She was staring at a drawing of a sumo sticker. It was too dark to tell for sure, but I thought I saw something dripping off her finger. I mean, surprise, right? That was blood. She must have done this in installments, though, because, like, how much blood? She'd cut her finger to draw that. She was drawing those pictures. I couldn't speak. My throat wouldn't work. I had questions to ask her. Who are you? Did you draw all the stickers all over town? Why are you drawing those? But I just couldn't speak. The strange sight before me filled me with an indescribable terror. I was overcome by the idea that if I talked to her now, if she turned around, she would transform into something else and attack me. I heard my name and turned towards Serica. Her hand was clutching my arm tightly. Is she not there?
何かってお前あれ
Shaking, I pointed at the girl on the floor, but... there was no one there. I was standing in the middle of a hospital room, shaking and staring at the drawings of the sumo sticker design on the wall. My hand had numbly lowered, and my smartphone was recording only my crotch. Serica looked at me, worried.
あの女の子は今そこにいただろ
But there was no one in the direction I was pointing. Just eerie pictures in an empty room.
じゃあ今のはただの妄想
Or maybe whoever had drawn the bloody pictures on the wall was already dead. But some trace of their spirit was bound into those paintings and trapped inside the room? No, that was way too paranormal for me. It was impossible. But I couldn't get the image of the crouching girl I thought I had seen out of my mind.
お前行こうここは多分良くない
Oh really? Do you think it might not be a good place? I took Serica's hand and slowly started to walk backwards. But the door's locked. It felt like if I made a sound, all the eyes of the sumos drawn on the wall would open and stare at me. Wow, I already called that. That's amazing. We made it back to the door and jumped out into the hallway. Really? Well, I suppose if a door is going to lock, it's going to be the automatic one, right? There's still a chance to be trapped. That is creepy, though. You can do that later? She's clearly talking to somebody else, but what? I could hear frantic voices down the hallway. The hospital staff must have heard my scream. They probably thought something had happened to a patient. They were going to find us. Oh, whatever. Just go. Huh. Did I just hear a sound from the emergency exit? Huh. Okay. Sarika jumped onto the door. What? She jumped onto the door? Did she just jump to the door? She jumped onto it? Whatever. Everything's normal. Yep, all the creepy bloody paintings. Don't worry about it. That was like that when we got here. I could faintly hear the voices of the nurses running back and forth across the hallway. Evidently they hadn't found us. Unless something crazy happens now, I gotta say, this was surprisingly benign. Like, other than the door magically opening, we entered a room, we were creeped out, and that was it. There was no horrific murder. It was just like, oh, that shouldn't have happened, and the nurses are still just here, working at the hospital. I could hear Sarika take a sigh of relief in the darkness. No quadruple knock. I used the light from my phone to look around. We were on the landing of a staircase. This was probably the emergency stairs. Sarika looked down, illuminating the stairs with her own phone. Yeah, you shouldn't just be able to leave. If they were keeping the automatic door locked, there was no way they wouldn't lock the emergency exit. Did they? Could we really get that lucky? And I was sure I'd heard a sound. Sarika pointed down the stairs. I used the light from my phone to look at the knob of the emergency door. Good. It was the type that opened from the inside. The other doors probably were too. Sarika was probably thinking the same thing I was. Was that where the creator of the sumo stickers was kept? Or someone who had something to do with the case? But in the end, I had no answer. There was a whole wall of sumo sticker images drawn in someone's blood. That was the only information we had. Sarika seemed to understand that as well, because she didn't ask any more questions. I unlocked the door and quietly opened it, then peered down the hallway beyond. It's the same psych hallway. Whoa, hello. Wait. Oh my goodness. Remember these two? They're the ones who were outside in the mysterious alley. Like, we need a long pole for whatever. And the old woman's like, yes. But this was the girl who we thought we saw drawing with blood. Like, this is her. With the one tail. I don't know what you call it. Pigtail? With the ribbon? That's her. I ducked without even thinking. I placed my hand on the open door to support myself and then quickly yanked my body back inside toward the stairs. Why? There was no mistaking it. Those were the two that Ito had noticed in the club room this morning. Sarika stuck her head out just a little and saw them too. She dropped down. I put my hand over her mouth before she could finish. I know, so don't make any noise. Why were they here? Was there some connection between them and the sumo stickers after all? I could hear footsteps. Theirs. I couldn't move. They'd hear me. I froze and concentrated on what I was hearing. Good. They were heading further away. My phone. You'd think that, like, after the first call, you'd mute it. Oh. Would I drop it? Oh no. They were getting closer. Who were those two? What were they doing here? Maybe...
もしかして事件の犯人は
取り返しのつかないことになる可能性だってあるの。
For a moment I felt incredibly cold, like my whole body had gotten smaller. The hand I was holding against the door was slippery with sweat. My heart was pounding loudly and it hurt to breathe. No. No! Suddenly, my frozen body was yanked upward. I stumbled and tripped, then was yanked up again. Just as Sarika kicked open some kind of door and dragged me through, I saw them pick up my phone. Oh, man. I mean, yeah, but that's really bad. I collapsed right onto the ground. I wanted to catch my breath, but it wasn't working. My legs were shaking from exhaustion, and my hands were shaking from the still lingering terror. It was all I could do to muster a feeble nod. I had no idea why, but my hands shaking made me really mad. I slammed them into the asphalt. Damn it. How? What were they doing there? And now they had my smartphone with all its data? It couldn't be a coincidence.
着信あったんだ。しんちゃん？もしもし、尾上です。どうしたの？
よし。
My breathing had calmed down. I needed to get my thoughts in order. The phone had a lock on it. They wouldn't be able to do anything with it immediately. It was clear that the sumo stickers were involved somehow. In particular...
まだ事件が起こっていないのに壁一面に貼られた力士シールが引っかかるな。
Yeah, I guess it's the 7th, right? Wasn't the murder supposed to be later? Something terrible's gonna happen in that room eventually? Come to think of it, Kurusu said she was going to take down the security camera. What happened with that? Sarika turned around, moving very slowly.
どうした?
What did that expression mean? Sarika looked away from me for a moment and then back, as if afraid of something painful.
のんちゃんが刺された。
What?
来るさあ。
Yui pointed toward the exam room in the back with a pained expression on her face. Damn it.
まさかまさか。来るぜ。
He's here. What? Again?
なんで。いや、来るぜ来るぞ。
静かにしなさい。一応病院なんだから。
Was she okay?
タクル、
何。
靴脱ぎなさい。
あ、ごめん。
I'd forgotten to take them off when I came in, so I quickly yanked them off my feet.
僕。
何？
いや、その。
I could see a bandage through the gaps in her pajamas.
ああ、これ？
Kurusu lifted up her shirt just a little to show me her stomach. It was wrapped in a thick bandage.
13針。大したことない。
What? The hell was this?
お前。
I felt a dull pain in my face. I collapsed to the ground and then he grabbed me by the shirt and lifted me back up.
ざけんなよ。お前何してんだよ。
ちょっと川原くん。
探偵ごっこがなんか知らねえけど、余計なことしてるからこんなことになんだろうが。死んでてもおかしくなかったんだぞ。
川原くん。
He pushed me away violently. My face stung from the punch.
おう、青少年。世のビールはこれか。
はい。他にもいろいろ入っているそうです。
すまないな。
ゲンさん、ありがとうございました。川原くん、それゲンさんの家まで運ぶのを手伝ってもらえる？
いや、でも。
お願い。
わかったよ。あの。
Kawahara glared at me for a minute, then picked up the cardboard box and left.
おう、タク。
ケンさん、なんで。
まあ、いろいろだな。おう、嬢ちゃん、養生しろよ。
はい。ゲンさんも。相変わらずひょうひょうとしてる人ね。
どうして。いや、じゃなくて。その、何があったんだ。大丈夫なのか。
Kurusu's hand slowly stretched down to the wound on her stomach.
助けられたの。通りかかったゲンさんに刺したやつを取り押さえてくれた。
Wait, really?
あなたが仕掛けたカメラ、正確には伊藤くん？
それは。
まあいいね。とにかくカメラを外している時に妙なやつに声をかけられたの。聖なる結界の場所でどうしたこうした意味がわからなかったけど、それでいきなり詰め寄られて。
And stabbed her?
まったくどこで売ってるのかしらね、ああいうナイフって。 。
Her voice was far more cheerful than I'd expected it to be. For some reason, that made everything suddenly seem real. Kurusu had really been stabbed.
それでどうなったんだよ。
殴って逃げたに決まってるでしょ。そこにゲンさんが通りかかって取り押さえて、で110番。
I can't believe that they caught them. That's the weird part.
タクル？
傷は大丈夫なのか。
脇腹を軽く削ぐような傷だから内臓は無事。大丈夫。
おや、宮代くん。
Wakui, should I know who this is?
来てたのか。久しぶりだな。
ああ。
お、玄ちゃんと川原少年はどうした？
帰ってもらったの。
例のお土産は？
渡しました。川原くんに頼んだから。
I see, Dad said as he scratched his head. It really had been a while since I'd seen his face. Not since I left the dorm.
佐久間さん、私はこれで。
ああ、そうでしたね。この度はののがすいませんでした。
いいえ、クルス君にはいつもお世話になっているので。じゃあクルス君、お大事にね。
ありがとうございます。ご迷惑おかけしました。
そうだ。宮代君もいるならちょうどいいか。
The teacher turned around and scratched his head the same way my dad did.
ちょっと言いづらいんだけど、それにまあ君たちが完全に悪いってわけでもないんだけど、おそらく新聞部は活動を自粛してもらうことになると思う。こんなことが起きちゃった以上は。
I mean, surprise, surprise. But yeah, when it said teacher, it clicked. This was the guy that Ito had to chase out of the room before Kurosu, destroyed him. I nodded weakly. It didn't seem like there was anything else I could do.
まあね、これもいい教訓だと思って、いや、失礼かな。つまりね。
先生。
はい。
お疲れ様でした。
Kurosu made a motion to shoo him away.
はい。
Kurosu suddenly sighed.
疲れた。
お前、教師からも怖がられてんのか。
違います。あの先生はいつもあんな感じなの。父さん、やっぱり上で休む。
大丈夫か？明日の診察までは寝てていいぞ。
痛み少しだけど引いてきたから。自分のベッドの方が楽。
運ばれた病院で薬何もらったんだ？
ファロとロキ。少し多めに飲んだの。あげませんからね。
バカか。タグ。もし熱が出たらすぐ言えよ。
Kurosu slowly got up. I could see her holding herself up with her hands to avoid putting pressure on her stomach.
クルス、ごめん、僕が。
タクル、あなた今日泊まっていきなさい。
I knew her wounds had to hurt, but she was acting completely normal. That just made me feel even more depressed. I said yes in a voice so small even I could barely hear it.
大丈夫よ。そんなにじっと見てなくても。
あ、 いや、
Kurisu slowly laid down on her bed. I told her I would help her get up to the third floor, but she said it would just make it harder for her to walk. At least I could bring the blanket all the way up to her shoulders.
ありがとう。やっぱり違和感あるわね。看病される側って慣れてないの。あ、ちゃんと冷やしときなさいよ。
Kurisu pointed to my cheek. She must have been talking about where Kawahara hit me.
こんな時まで他人の心配するなよ。
And it was my fault that this had happened.
あなたね、言っておくけど。
Kurisu tried to raise her head up, but her wound must have hurt her because she grimaced and laid back down.
あなたのせいじゃないからね。刺されたのはあくまで私の責任。
でも僕がカメラなんて仕掛けなければ。
それは確かに褒められたことじゃないけど、でも予想できたことじゃないでしょ。
That was true, but...
ああ、カメラは返しておく。ユイがその辺に置いてくれてない？
I looked around the room and saw that there was a paper bag on the desk. The camera I'd had Ito set up was inside. There was some damage on a corner. It must have been dropped when she was stabbed.
どんなやつだったんだよ、その犯人。
暗くてよく見えなかったけど、2、30歳くらいの男。ごめん、電気消してくれる？仰向けに寝てると眩しい。
ああ。
I turned off the lights. Kurisu sighed to calm herself down.
ゲンさんに取り押さえられて、警官が来るまでわめき散らしてた。俺のネットの継承に気づかないお前たちごときがとか、犠牲者の聖なる使いの俺に触れるなとかね。
Okay, so I guess that's the weirdo who made that page we saw?
Huh?
They were super local? I mean, I guess it would make sense if they're talking about the stickers that they would be in the area, but they're right here. I suddenly realized that reminded me of something. It was the same with that stuff about a barrier that Kurisu was saying downstairs. Could he be... Yeah.
管理人？
詳しくは明日警察の人が来ていくつか聞くことがあるって言ってたから、その時わかるとは思うけど。
Hmm? It felt like her voice was shaking a little.
クルス？
なんでもない。大丈夫。
It was too dark to see clearly, but I could tell that she had her hand on her face. I finally realized that she was holding back tears. I swore at myself. Of course she was, damn it. She'd been stabbed in the stomach. Of course she was scared. Neither of us said anything for a while. I couldn't bring myself to say another word. Nothing I said would be right, and it felt like it would hurt her. I couldn't see her face. I didn't know if she was crying, but even if she wasn't crying, she may as well have been.
タクル？
I don't know how long I was silent. My eyes had finally gotten used to the dark by the time she whispered.
言うとね、ラブレターもらったんですって。今野さん、覚えてる？
I didn't. I tried to remember, but maybe she wasn't expecting an answer?
5年生の時から同じクラスの。一度、ユウトが休んだ時にプリントを持ってきてくれたメガネをかけた子。それをクラスの男の子にからかわれたらしくて。 それでユイが
And then she started to go on in a quiet voice. She told me that Dad had been busy lately, that he was being as obnoxious as ever, that she'd ordered him to stop drinking for a week today, that Yui was still afraid of men, but that she'd made friends with a boy in her class, that Yuto wasn't getting any taller. He said it didn't bother him, but it obviously did. That the air conditioner in the living room wasn't working well, and she and Yui had cut Dad's allowance to buy a new one, that the two of them were saving up their own allowance too, that the old woman who was a regular at Aoba Clinic, the one who taught Kurusu how to sew, wasn't doing so well lately, that she'd mixed up a clothes hanger with a clothes pin, and one of the patients had laughed at her. I listened to her for a long time, only speaking occasionally. Her voice gradually got softer, and eventually I realized that she was talking in her sleep. Then I realized something.
そうか。
Kurusu was telling me everything that had happened here in the half year I'd been gone. What had happened at home. What Dad and Yui and Yuto had been up to. She'd been saying all this because she wanted me to know.
それでね
As I waited for her to finish her sentence, I could hear her soft breathing. She'd fallen asleep. I slowly stood up, careful not to make a sound. I adjusted the blanket over her once more and went to leave.
たくる事件を追うのは
She was probably talking in her sleep. I heard the rest as I left the room, and I understood what she was saying all too well. My room hadn't changed at all since I'd left half a year ago. It still had the same shelves, the same desk, and the same bed. Everything was as I remembered it.
本当にびっくりするくらい何も変わってないな。
I figured it would either have been turned into a storage room or be covered in dust.
そうか。スマホは
I checked my pockets for my phone, only to realize that I'd dropped it at the hospital, and that those two weird people had picked it up. I couldn't do it. I tried to remember what happened at the hospital, but instead I found myself thinking about the girl in the next room. My body was tired. My brain was telling me I needed to think about everything that had happened tonight, but I felt too exhausted. So I took out the scrapbook from its usual spot on the shelf. The same articles. The same incidents from the past. I'd seen them so many times I was tired of reading about them. The newspaper article was from around 6 years ago during the Shibuya earthquake. The title was Robbery at a Refugee Shelter? My parents' names were in the article. Sanao Miyashiro. Eriko Miyashiro. The article said that the two of them had been killed by an unknown assailant. When I'd found out about this several months ago, I'd left the dorm and gone to live in Miyashita Park. I'd been told about my parents' death when I'd woken up from my coma about a year after the earthquake. But Dad and Kurusu had told me that they'd been killed in the earthquake. I closed the scrapbook and put it back on the shelf. The fact that my parents were murdered, instead of simply dying in the earthquake, was a shock to me. But I think it was a lot less of a shock than Dad and Kurusu expected. I'd experienced the earthquake personally. I'd seen for myself how awful the looting and robbery was. And my parents had neglected me, and spent all their time at work. Neglect, a type of abuse. In this case, it refers to parental neglect of a child. Examples of neglect include a failure to provide food, a failure to provide care during a time of illness, a failure to provide a child a healthy environment, and a failure to show interest in a child. Neglect can also be shown to the elderly and disabled by those in a position to care for them. The 5.5 years that had passed since their murder crushed any desire I had to find the killer and take revenge. No, maybe I would never have wanted to take revenge in the first place. My curiosity just made me want to find them.
そんなことより僕は
It was a shock to me that Dad and Kurusu were keeping it secret. There were 2 rules at Aoba dorm. After dinner, everyone had to gather around the dinner table and talk, and no one was allowed to keep secrets. Just before I'd left, we had a huge fight. During the fight, Kurusu had told me she didn't want to make things any worse after I'd woken up from my coma. But at the time, that sounded like nothing but an excuse. I thought we weren't supposed to keep secrets, Kurusu. I'd called her by her last name. By the time I'd calmed down enough to think about how she must have felt, I'd already moved to Miyashita Park. Suddenly... Okay, regular knock. Suddenly there was a knock at the door.
はい。
私、入っていい？
It was Yui's voice. I told her she could come in, and the door opened slowly.
どうした？
ちょっと。
The two of them were together, like usual. Yuto looked like he was so tired he could barely stand. The only reason that she brought him was probably that if he woke up in the dark alone, he'd be scared. This was another sight that brought back a lot of memories.
久しぶり、タクルに。
ああ、ダメだろ、こんな時間に。
I
didn't know how late it was exactly, but it was probably long past 3 a.m.
ちょっとくらいいいじゃん。ののね、大丈夫そうだった？
うん。今寝てるよ。
そっか、よかった。
Yui looked truly relieved.
まったく、ののねもいくら日課だからってあんな時間にお参りなんて行くから。
え？
タクル兄からも言っといてよね。
クルスがお参りだって？
え？うん、帰ってきた時にそう言ってたよ。
My heart skipped a beat. What was Kurusu doing? How much could she...
あ、タクル兄ちゃん。
Yuto suddenly opened his eyes.
どうした？
なんでも。
Then he put his head against Yui's shoulder and stopped moving. Yui sighed and held Yuto up so he didn't fall over.
タクルに何があったか知らないけどさ、とっとと帰ってきてよね。お風呂の掃除当番溜まってるんだから。あと買い出し当番も。
I froze, unsure of what to say. Yui gave up on holding him steady and put him on her back.
部屋綺麗でしょ？のの姉がいつも掃除してるから。じゃあおやすみ。
あ。
I slid my hand across the desk. There wasn't a single speck of dust. The second I saw this, I felt a sharp pain deep in my nose and my vision blurred. I sat down, unable to stand. I felt the familiar sensation of the chair and stared at the wall I'd seen a million times before.
くそ。なんだよ。
When I'd left here, the biggest thing I felt wasn't rage at being betrayed by Dad and Kurisu, it was that I was different from everyone else. After I'd gotten so sick of the wrong siders in elementary school that I just stopped going altogether, after my parents had neglected me, this was the one place in my life that had been different. Kurisu, Yui, and Yuto had all lost their parents in the earthquake, just like me. This was a family made of people who'd all gone through the same thing. But I was different. I wasn't just a victim. I was a victim whose parents had been murdered. I was the one person who was different. I was special. I wasn't like everyone else.
弟というか家族でもなんでもないじゃんか。僕たちは。
Then the tears started. In my head, I apologized to Kurisu again and again as I sat there unable to get up from my chair. A man who looked like the sumo sticker asked someone for directions? Excuse me? Well, it looks like there's a major shift in mood. So for now, it is time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We went from a scary experience in the hospital to an emotional reunion. Kurisu has been stabbed by a crazy person who may have been the one to write that weird webpage. Things are afoot. The creepy pair we saw in that one cutscene before got our phone. The mystery, crazy webpage guy, I guess, got caught. Something's building up, but in the meantime, we need to reflect. Until next time, everyone.